nice of her to tell us that. Yeah.
I know. I call her Susie of Zoom. And Davida, warm welcome to you all the way from Calgary, Canada.
Yeah, well, outside Calgary, I don't live in the city. We
Mhm.
live about 45 minutes north of the city. Yeah, northwest.
Oh,
So we
this
have
is
a lovely
mhm.
natural environment that we enjoy. Yeah.
No wonder you're so sensible.
Well, it's good luck too. It's good luck. Yeah.
Well, I look at California, it is crowded. Less so, but boy, road rage, bird rage,
Oh yeah.
insect rage, hummingbird. And I'm just joking, but it does feel a bit like that. But a warm
Yeah.
welcome to you.
Okay.
I've been
Pleasure.
dying to talk to you because Davida, every time I see Words Without Songs, your newest installment, one is absolutely moved. I don't write reviews, but sometimes I think, how'd she do that? How'd she move like that? And, just for those viewers, Davida is a choreographer par excellence, right? You being Canada's choreographer, you were given awarded grants to do this, and you were in that Les Groupes is,
Le
I
groupe
think,
de la Place Royale, yes.
Les Groupes de la Place for quite a long time, and you're a professor emerita, University of Calgary. I mean, your curriculum vitae is, I think I'll crawl into a cupboard and just be there.
Oh no, not at all. But
I mean, you've done a thick book worth of dance,
but
and
I'm old. See, I'm very old. So the
well,
older you get, the higher that stack becomes, right?
not necessarily. Mine's
Not
going,
necessarily.
but this is
Your
the
work,
whole thing
if you
about you,
like your work.
Davida. So there is this immense movement and creativity that has not diminished. Because when I look at you, the light of your hair and eyes and books, I mean, I'm just observing. And so, how you can tell us more about your curriculum vitae, of course. And, but, I'm just dying to know, um, how did you get into dance?
Right.
Because for me, it's a nexus. My whole philosophy was how do you join this science and spiritual way of living, and we're very scientific in the West world. We look to
Yeah.
science to inform us. So when I saw your work, I thought, wow, science and spirit, this is Davida Monk. So how did you
Uh-huh.
go into dance?
Well, that's interesting. You see science in it. Um, I got into dance late. I was discouraged when I was moved to do it. I was discouraged by a number of people saying,
Wow.
"You will never," and that's all you have to say to certain people is, "You will never do it," and then that person will say, "Just watch me." But I was 25 when I started to train as a
Wow.
dancer. Um,
Yes.
as a little girl, I had the dream and took 1 year of ballet, but then it was just too disruptive. I never got back to it. But
Mm-hmm.
when I was 25, I was just very fortunate to have had a couple of um, connections. One, a cousin who lived in New York City. So
Mm-hmm.
I went
Mm-hmm.
to New York City and took classes there as a beginner, but at the American Ballet Theater recreational school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back to my home in Ottawa where I was living and looked for a place that felt like that
Mm-hmm.
because I needed at that age it was such a disadvantage, especially in the world of dance. You're expected to start young. Um,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
10 or 5 or something, but it was such a disadvantage to be starting as an adult in some respects, that I needed to be taken seriously. And I
Mm-hmm.
was fortunate that the people who were prepared to do that were there. They were there. I found them. But then there was an advantage
Mm-hmm.
to starting late, which was that
Yes, yes.
I had my mind uh, made up that I was going to try and do everything I could to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish this transformation in myself. And I had some life experience, that sort of I knew to a certain extent who I was. When you're 24, 25,
Mhm.
you're starting to form, and
Yes.
you know that you can kind of channel your energy and accomplish certain things. And so that's what I was determined to do. And I was just very fortunate to have found the mentor who could
Hmm.
look at this adult with enthusiasm and say, I think I can give her what she needs
Hmm.
to to
Yes.
realize this dream. So,
So what was the discouragement about?
oh, it was
When you,
about, oh, well, it's linked to this notion of the material and the scientific and
there
the
you are.
yeah, I would say the material, that how could you possibly put so much time into that when you have to have a place to live, and you have to have a car to drive, and you have to have you know the list. It's not, we all hear it, right? We all
Hmm.
hear how practical we must be. We must be very practical.
Hmm.
Um, and what that that's such a it can be such a damaging thing to say to someone, especially someone who's young, who
Yes.
who doesn't have any responsibilities other than him or herself at that point
Hmm.
in their lives.
Hmm. Hmm.
They still want adventure. They still want to find a direction, to be lost and then
Hmm.
find your way. That's what
Yes.
we need, and so, but people who were, I suppose, concerned about my welfare, uh,
Yes.
thought perhaps I was not considering all the facts.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I do remember taking, I don't know if you've ever done this, but when you're making a decision, you have the pro list and the con list. It's like, it will be good, I mean, maybe it will be bad if this happens. So I wanted my parents,
Hmm.
even at the age of 25, I wanted them to bless my effort.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
so I went through that simple exercise, and I took it before my parents, and I said,
Wow.
I had, at that point, I had a political science degree and a French language degree. But so I could fall back. I told them, I can fall back on academia and
Hmm.
pursue that, but this is the time for me to really pour my energy into this direction, because if I wait, I won't be able to do it. But if I
You
do it now,
know,
I might be able to do it. And my parents, to their credit, said, we can't say no. We cannot discourage you. You must.
you bring to my mind many years ago, I grew up in Kenya, and I was a reader from the,
Ah,
yeah, that was my thing, that I read because it was my way to see new things, new
absolutely.
experiences. I was a reader. And my mother says I never tore a book. I would even read a telephone book, the directory. She says if you wanted to find Nisha, you go and look for the books. And yeah,
Good for you.
I
That's
was very,
good.
very much a reader. And in that reading was science, and it attracted me a lot. This thing about understanding this beauty. But in my culture, that is no safety net. What are you doing? Who's going to employ you? I hear the same.
Use the same thing.
I heard the same thing. And you know what? I wanted to do physics of all things. And they thought, girls don't do physics. Girls don't do physics. And I thought, okay, okay, okay. So medicine was halfway acceptable, but it wasn't either. They wanted me to learn to type. And I don't know how to type, Davida. I type like this to this day, my notes and things. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And
Yeah.
and let me tell you what I did. There was no pro and con. No pro and con. I hid from my family. I went
Oh,
all the way to med school and they had no idea.
you're
Yeah,
kidding.
no, I'm not kidding you. They had no
Wow.
idea that I went to Scotland and I applied for med school. I found out how to do this. And it's a long story, but essentially, Davida, they are angels in our lives who somehow said, "Oh, you mean this application right here? Oh, it's for you." It was like this. I cannot tell you how many times you squeak through. Something about your parents saw in your
Yeah,
persona, and you said, "I'd lived life.
yeah,
I had had experiences." You weren't 10, you were
no.
25, and there was this something settles into a self-acceptance, I think, at that time. And
As much as one can, that one continues to work on that particular,
yeah, and,
yeah,
and,
all
and then
one's life.
you mentioned New York Ballet, you know? Okay, so today in
It
the
was
afternoon.
the American Ballet Theater, the American Ballet
Okay,
Theater in New York
okay.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was eating ice cream this afternoon, sorry. And I'm looking at a dance studio next to the ice cream place, and I thought I would love to dance. And I've done this a few times, and for various reasons, I fall off or the schedule doesn't work out. But I know there's something very aesthetic about ballet. Is that why you chose ballet? Is this what drew you to ballet?
Oh, well, it was, you know what, I didn't really want to dance ballet, and it would have been
Hmm.
impossible, really impossible for someone so formed, so independently formed
Ah,
to pursue at that point in time. But there was at the time, and it still kind of exists, a sort of understanding in the contemporary dance world where I
oh,
belong, that the technique of ballet has a lot to offer the body
mm,
in terms of the way it addresses strength, flexibility, um, awareness of space, ability to shape, musicality. All of these things are embedded in, it's quite an old technique
mhm,
relative to other contemporary dance techniques. And so
mhm,
it has had a lot of trial and error and refinement and
mhm,
different, yeah, different teachers or different aspects of the technique will go in
mhm.
different directions. But a lot of contemporary dancers would begin with ballet or train simultaneously
Yeah.
because of the grounding and the basics that the ballet technique gives you.
Right. Have you seen it was very famous about 15, 20 years ago. It's actually a fitness video. Um, New York City Ballet.
Oh no, I haven't
Part
seen.
one, two, yeah. So you get to know first position and tendu and
Right.
dégagé. See, I even remember some of the
Those are the
terminology because
terms.
I was viewing those videos, and it's really, really, really hard to just hold and then dégagé and arm first position and
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
Um,
There's a lot of well, I think one of the things that's so interesting about technique is that um, there would be an analogy to other things in life too. When you're studying a form like ballet and you see the teacher move into an action and she or he asks you to execute it, the tendency is to do the movement that you see as
mhm.
opposed to see the support for
Oh,
the movement, because it's the support that comes first and then the movement that comes after. Because without the support, the movement uh, will not be easily executed. And so that was one of the tricks that I saw in what I was doing as I was trying to